This is a podcast from the Queen City Podcast Network.
Welcome to Nerd School.
Nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
Yeah.
Suck it, nerd!
Nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
Suck it, nerd!
Nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
Suck it, nerd!
Visit me, daddy ass.
Welcome to Nerd School.
My name is Low Key. Welcome to the Nerd School podcast. You Jack.
I was hoping. I mean, was anybody else? I was like really hoping in the last Thor that Beta Ray was going to make a cameo. I mean, he was in one, Ragnarok. He's on one of the heads on the building. But I was really hoping he's going to show up and he's going to get Stormbreaker and it's going to be awesome. That was like one of the few things that I was actually a little disappointed in that movie about. But
I'm wondering if they even thought about doing that though. Like if it's one of those things like, well, we could do this, but we have other ideas for Stormbreaker later on. So let's just show a giant head of him and pay homage, and then later on,
right, and we'll see. Yeah. Well, especially because he was in that. Was a Planet Hulk, right? Like he was one of the contenders against Hulk and all that kind of stuff. So that plays right into the comic books and into of course Stormbreaker doesn't come around till the next movie, and
if I technically, not to be technically nerd, but I think Beta Ray Bill was in the Planet Hulk animated movie version of Planet Hulk.
You're right.
In the comics, it was Silver Surfer.
Yeah,
that was in that role, but so I
And
guess they couldn't.
Andy, I love that you said not to be technically a nerd, as if we aren't a podcast wholly dedicated.
Right. I was specifically did not want to be the but technically nerd.
To be comic book.
Well, you were so.
But I feel compelled. I feel like that's kind of my role.
That is your role. You are that nerd.
Thing. Yeah.
So I might just
That's funny
because
We all know who we are.
Yeah, embrace it.
That guy.
Embrace it. You know who you are, the technical nerd. The technically nerd. Actually.
Actually is more of a I don't know. I don't know,
more
just
condescending,
a little more misogyny kind of thing.
Yeah, because you're like, actually, you're nerd splaining.
Yeah, right.
You're the
We
nerd
don't have room
splainer.
for misogyny here.
Yeah, actually, this is just completely arbitrary, but it's actually is more of the mansplaining kind of thing, whereas technically would be more of nerd, I think.
Nerd splain.
Yeah.
As you're also nerd explaining the technicality of the word.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm all about
we're getting our terminology right here, guys.
Yep.
Well, with that, we might as well just go ahead and start because, as everyone knows,
let's jump in.
I like to ease into a podcast with nerd talk already happening when it starts. So some of that will probably already be in here. So
Great.
You guys may notice, listeners, you may notice a new voice. We have a guest today on the Nerd School podcast. And don't worry, we are going to finish Antman Wasp if it kills us.
Are we?
We're going to try.
Don't make promises we can't keep, Joe.
Yeah, I probably should. But our goal is to finish Antman and Wasp in 2 episodes. But yeah, a lot happens in the second half that we got and a lot of cool stuff. So maybe we won't. But our guest is Johnny Shields, organizer and designer and creator, I guess. I mean, you can clarify this, of the Beer City Comic Con in Asheville, North Carolina, which is coming up at the end of this month in September. Well, the end of this month when this podcast comes out, it'll be September. So
There you go.
I don't have any ambitions of getting out before Thursday. So Wednesday. Yeah, it'll be September probably. So at the end of this September month, Johnny, welcome to the Nerd School podcast.
Welcome.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for
really
being here.
To be here.
And
absolutely.
And if you haven't met us, we got Art Star here, who is the what was that? You're not the surprise nerd. TBJ's the surprise nerd. You were the cool nerd, super cool. I can't remember what you were.
The super cool
secret nerd.
Yeah.
No, TBJ was the surprise secret nerd. Art Star is the guy the actual artist, the one who actually draws things.
The art drawer. Yeah, he's an artiste. And then Andy's the professor of nerd dumb. But yeah, TBJ down there at the, well, I don't know where she's on your screen, but TBJ.
You can't really see me because I don't have
Somewhere.
good lighting where I am, but
Oh,
this
there we
is
go.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool background
Yeah.
though, TBJ.
Just have horrible lighting. Thanks.
Yeah.
It looks kind of cool though. There's
Yeah,
kind of like a comic book
Thanks.
vibe
And an
going on
effort
because
to
of
get
that. Yeah.
away from my beeping alarm that I can't fix. I've moved locations where there's no light.
Oh no, you still have that alarm issue in your apartment?
Listen, I have changed the batteries. I have unplugged that thing and it still beeps. I feel like it's making fun of me at this point.
Oh no.
So I've moved. I record in my garage now, but my garage is not set up like your garage, Joe.
Oh, it's not like my garage with all the stuff.
No, it's not decked out.
Yeah, I had to pre-cool my garage. Anyway, so we're here with Johnny. So Johnny, tell us all about the Beer City Comic Con. Is this the first? And am I saying it right? Is that what it's called? The Beer City Comic Con. And this is the first one.
This is the first one. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's the first one of Beer City Comic Con. It's also kind of the first Comic Con of its kind, at least as far as I know, where we're really trying to expound the nerddom into like science nerddom, in addition to comic books and anime and all the other fun nerddoms that all Comic Cons are a celebration of. And so we're bringing the science in by inviting a lot of obviously scientists, philosophers, psychologists, astrophysicists, but then also like not just science, but like Navy SEALs and community activists and, like fantasy authors and all sorts of people to just bring a bunch of different new perspectives to like our panel discussions and things like that to kind of really do deep dives into some of the science and geekiness of the characters, the storylines, and other just fun like stuff that people would geek out about that is science related. So like hold on, I wrote some of them down. So like so to give you a couple examples, just so you get a feel for it. So here are some of our panel discussions. So Ben Grimm, Bruce Banner, and the Shadow Self, which is like which will have a clinical psychologist who actually kind of does a lot of work in Jungian psychology, talking about like, shadow work is like your dark side that you kind of hide from yourself, you hide from everybody else, and using the examples of how Ben Grimm deals with his shadow side or monster side versus Bruce Banner and how he deals with his, and which one, and like the idea is being like Ben Grimm does a much better job of dealing with his monster side and incorporating it into his personality and into his, normal self, so that when the shit goes down, he can use that monster side for good. But it also, he can have a normal life. He's married now. He has kids. He, can have a great life. Whereas Bruce Banner is always, he hates his monster side. He hides it away, he pushes it away. He wants to cure it. He wants to get rid of it. And so it always comes in and fucks up his whole life. So he can never lead a normal, healthy life because he is always at battle with his monster side instead of incorporating it.
Wow.
And so like, that's like,
yes.
yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Although
so-
I would say, not that it matters, but Ben Grimm had a much better support system growing up than Bruce Banner.
Yeah. that's definitely true.
It helps to have a fantastic family. But anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Which is why it's good that there's someone in psychology talking about it, Andy.
Yeah, it's right there in my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
I'm
that
a big fan
idea.
of Ben Grimm and Bruce Banner.
Me too. And of course, like, and that's, and then, that's another part of the conversation that can happen. And as far as like, well, yeah, like, why would that person develop in that way, dependent on their support system, their, all these things that lead into how we deal with our dark sides, so that, I mean, that's one, like another just super geeky one is the biology of Star Wars, which is led by an evolutionary biologist. And he basically just takes different aliens from Star Wars and say, okay, what kind of planet would this alien have come from to adapt in this way that they would have these features and things like that. So just kind of geek out around that. Like,
That's cool.
That sounds so cool.
So cool
Yeah,
and
dude.
different, innovative.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh. It's so, I mean, it's funny because you attracted me at Heroes Con in Charlotte because of walking past your booth of beer right away. I saw the beer and
Right,
the comic book drawing of people drinking beer. And I was like, "Whoa, this is for me!" And then I was, "What is this? And what's beer?" And of course, Asheville's Beer City. And
Right.
you had me at just beer and comic books, and then I had no idea until I really started talking to you that it's all about science and all this kind of stuff, which is a lot of what we do with our Nerdy Night Out shows and everything. So we're a definite good fit for this.
Yeah. Totally.
So we can't wait to come, at least in 2024, when we put it on our calendars ahead of time,
Right.
and have enough time to do it. But like, it's exciting, and we've actually talked already about trying to make a team building trip for us to come up to Asheville and get an Airbnb and clothing optional, guys, and Tiffany.
Not clothing optional.
Ayahuasca.
Clothing mandatory.
Listen.
Very
If I know Tiffany, she said not clothing optional, but she already has it in her head. Like, well, we get this room, all right.
Yes, there is a
Only
fee
fans.
to play, but it's not for everyone to see. I'm trying to make it so we have enough money to have a team retreat in Asheville. So if I've got to
There we
profit
go.
off your thighs, Art, let me profit. It's for the good of us all.
The
It's not.
good
I'm
of us
not
all.
There we go.
stashing away the money. We can take a big ride to Asheville so we can be at the festival next year in style. Okay.
It can be
Style.
Beer City after hours. It can be
Oh,
the
yeah.
Arts Thigh Meat on display.
There we go.
We'll put it behind a
Dude, that-
paywall. Everyone's welcome.
Yeah,
Anyone-
it would fit right in. We're like we're doing a bunch of like outside events, because part of the idea is this should be a celebration of Asheville. That's why, like, Beer City, and we will have some of our local breweries represented. You can't have a beer there and everything, but it is a Comic-Con more than a beer. It's not a beer festival, but you can definitely get a delicious beer.
Don't tell
But we have
Joey.
all these other like.
I love beer.
Me too. I mean, that's why I incorporated. I just
why
kind of
you're in
took all my
Asheville.
favorite things and like smashed them together. Like, all
Yeah.
right, well, I love comic books, I love beer, and I love
Yes.
science. So, like, why can't we just do it all?
Yes.
Yeah, but then we're like, in order to fit in more stuff, we're doing all sorts of things after hours. So, art, a little striptease show or whatever you had in mind. But like we have a drag brunch going on Sunday of the con.
Yes,
Like,
there you
if
go.
that's something you're into, come on. Like, you can make some dollar bills there.
Yeah.
I'll throw some down that G-string, man. I don't care.
Yeah.
Talk to
Yes, we have our
biologists.
first supporter. Thank you, Johnny.
There we go. Yeah, absolutely. I want to get y'all there. It's all for you. I just want to get y'all there. If I got to put G-strings on dollar bills on Art's G-string to do it, that's what I got to do.
Yeah, we need some makeup artists. We'd have some good friends that could really glam you up too, Art. Like if you
There
really
we
want to
go.
be
Yeah.
dragged, like, we can do this.
Now we're talking.
Or
Yeah.
just get into the biology of thigh meat and exactly how it happens.
It relates to nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
We can make it
science.
nerdy. We can make it sciencey. He can be in his favorite character, but with very limited clothing. And
There we go.
there's after hours Art Star. There it is.
Lilu, the fifth element. I think that's your costume.
Orange
You're onto
rubbery
something.
thing.
Orange
Yeah,
hair
that'd
and
be perfect.
basically the duct
Yeah,
tape.
right. Yep. Love
So
it. Love it.
so what are the dates and the location and where do we get tickets?
Yeah. So the dates are so it's a little weird. So on September 29th, which is a Friday, isn't the full con, but we have our Beer City Con X event, which is essentially a playoff of TEDx. So it's like TED meets a Comic Con. So it's a short form lecture series with some of our guest comic book creators like Mark Russell and Stephanie Williams, but then also a bunch of our sciencey people covering all sorts of different bases. Like like Chief Sneed, the principal chief of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, is coming to do a talk. I mean, we have like lots of awesome people. So that's on Friday afternoon. But then Saturday and Sunday, so that would be September 30th and October 1st, is the full cons with the panels and everything like that. And sorry, I'm going to keep throwing things in. There's a lot of shit going on. Just so if you haven't figured it out yet.
Oh yeah.
But one of the other things that we have going on, so there's the whole con and the vendors and all the fun stuff, cosplay contests, all that stuff. Great, all interesting panels like we talked about. But one cool thing that we've added too is like right on the arena floor on the vendor floor, we have the Pisgah Astronomical Research Institute is coming and setting up a portable planetarium, and you're going to be able to go and do like classes and star tours and like the vastness of space and spectroscopy. I can't ever say it right, but it's like the light that different elements give off and stuff. And so you do it. I mean, it's fascinating, like really cool stuff. So that's going on. Those classes are going to be going on just all day, both days. Like, but you just can be walking around at the vendors, and then, you know, it's a small paid ticket. It's like, I think $6 or something, which all goes back to the Pisgah Astronomical Research Institute.
Wow.
But yeah, so you do that right on the floor. But yeah, so we have that. So Friday is ConX, and then we also have like a bunch of other cool shit going on. Like we're doing a screening of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie 1990. You know, the original live action movie.
Yes.
With the screenwriter Todd Langen is going to be there. Doing a question and answer period, and it's happening at Asheville Brewing and Pizza, which is a pizza place, a brewery, and it's in an old movie theater. So it's showing on the big screen, like doing a pizza party, Ninja Turtles with the screenwriter and having beer. It's gonna be awesome.
That's Saturday night.
It's Saturday it's Friday and Saturday night actually.
Okay.
The Saturday night, so Friday is just with Todd Langdon, the screenwriter. Saturday night, same thing with Todd, but also Mark Thompson and Wayne Grayson, who are two voice actors who were in like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that, but also were in a version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles television show, like cartoon.
Awesome.
So that's happening, and everybody gets like a movie poster signed by everybody at the end of the thing and everything.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then and there's a bunch of other shit too. I'm just, you know, like Saturday we're also doing a drink and draw, which is with Team Cul-de-sac and Chris Sparks, who does the drink and draw for Heroes Con. So they're coming and doing that at Green Man Brewing on Saturday night, which, here's another thing. So these things tie in together. This is really cool. So Green Man is doing a special beer for us. It's called Ninkasi's Nectar. Ninkasi is the name of our mascot logo. She's the goddess of beer. And so Green Man's doing a special beer and beer label that's going to be released for the con. And Charles Vess did the artwork, who was the original artist for Sandman, you know, like with Neil Gaiman.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like an amazingly well-respected fantasy artist for like fantasy novels, graphic novels, all sorts of things. So he did the artwork for the can. It gets released on September 14th. We're having a party at Green Man. So no one sees it until you actually have to show up and see it be revealed.
Wow.
In the can and everything. Yeah. And so for the drink draw, we're auctioning off the original artwork by Charles. So you can actually take the actual piece of paper that he, you know, created, drew on for that, which the money goes to Team Cul-de-sac, which goes to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. So that's going on Saturday, as well as the Teenage Mutant Turtles thing. On Sunday, you know, like I said, we have a drag brunch, like comic book theme drag brunch going on Sunday morning. And then Sunday afternoon, after the con is over, we're doing a Star Wars concert with the Asheville Symphony Orchestra. So all the like John Williams music from the Star Wars stuff. So that's gonna be freaking rad too. So there's a scratching of the surface. There's a whole bunch of shit to check out. Go to the website to see it. It's just beercitycomiccon.com, or we're on all the socials. So just look us up on there, and you'll find us and be able to stay abreast of everything.
Yeah, the world's smartest Comic-Con. Yeah, I'm on there right now checking it out. And I could just stare at this instead of doing the podcast the rest of the day or the rest of the evening. But
all right, see ya.
We gotta. But no, just so cool. Like, it's just so cool. All of it is so exciting at the Harrah's Cherokee Center in Asheville.
Which is not in Cherokee, North Carolina. It's the Civic Center in downtown Asheville. There's confusion gets made. Harrah's just paid to get naming rights to that. But people have in the past have shown up in Cherokee, North Carolina, being like, "Hey, I'm at the place. Where are you guys?" Like, no, we're now half away. So don't just go to Asheville. It's right in downtown Asheville. It's easy to find.
Yeah. So just if worse comes to worse, just go to Asheville and then you'll find it.
Yeah, and you'll track it down from there. It's easy enough. Yeah.
Awesome. And you got some cool merch there on the side. You got all kinds of guests and people there. Oh man, I can't imagine what you're going through right now. Well, I actually can, because I'm in the middle of planning a comedy festival, which is next weekend. So
there you go.
same kind of
So,
thing,
yeah.
just like a million pieces and bands, and that's what Art and I were talking about.
Oh my God.
On about he's got to be there just to let people go to the bathroom. But yeah, so it's I mean, this is, I'm sure, anybody planning these Comic Cons with all the vendors there, I can't imagine all that goes into doing this and keeping it all straight.
Yeah, dude. My background is in event production. So I've done event production for over 10 years, but mostly, for the most part, that was in craft beer. So doing beer festivals, brewers conferences, beer and food pairing events, stuff like that.
So you really do get to marry all your things together.
I know. Yeah, that's very true. Like, it's just all my favorite stuff. And I do think like beer, like a well done comic book or any story, like especially sci-fi, like is a great marriage of science and art. You know, like to be a good brewer, you have to be an artist and you have to be a scientist. Like you have to be able to hit those numbers exactly the way they need to be hit and balance them out. But you also have to have the fluid play and creativity of an artist at the same time. And I feel like really just a well done anything, whether it's a comic book, a movie, a novel, or whatever, is kind of that marriage of being able to like hit all the points you need to hit to make sure you're getting your plot line across and all that sort of thing, but also have the fluidity and creativeness and the breaking the rules at the appropriate time kind of thing to really make it a beautiful piece of art. And so that's why it's kind of like a celebration of all those things. And a good scientist is that way too. You know, like you gotta be able to follow the rules, but you also gotta be able to look at the unknown and, all right, how do I design an experiment to find the answer to this? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I see it as all kind of interconnected. I mean, like they seem as very disparate things, but like in my mind, I see like, oh no, there's a through line here. Like all these things are very much connected to me. But I'm also dyslexic and I have a tendency to like see connections. Like then, you know, usually they are there. They're just harder to see. But like sometimes I see connections that other people are like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
And you can just make the connection, right? Like if you
right, exactly.
You don't see it, but let's make it. Yeah.
That's a good thing about being a philosophy major. I can usually come up with an argument that can sell my point. I was like, well, if you think about it this way.
Well, yeah. And I think everything is connected. I think you can take any two things and somehow find a way to connect them, preferably through Debra Jo Rupp, but not always. It can be through any kind of way. But yeah, that's all. Yeah, you guys,
how Buddhist of you, very interconnectedness of the universe.
Of everything. Do you have a how big is your team of people that like put on the fest? Like, do you have a team of people that are helping you? I mean, obviously.
Oh my God, absolutely. And I definitely could not do it without them. Our team is about 7 or 8 people that are like really fully on the team. And then we have, but like one of those people is like Kudzu Brands, who's our marketing company, who handles a lot of that, so they did, Ninkasi, who you've seen, our mascot, was designed by Heather Flowers, who is both a comic book artist, but she also just happened to work for this marketing company, who she wouldn't even work in design. But when I came and, hey, this is the idea of the event, this is what I'm thinking for this like kind of logo mascot thing that I want. Yeah. And the owners there like handed it off to her, like, well, this is your wheelhouse. So it's her first time to design a logo and stuff like that for the company.
That's pretty awesome.
And I think she hit it out of the park, man. I couldn't be happier with
that's so cool. So you have somebody who's got these skills, maybe kind of not even using the skills necessarily, but doing other things for marketing, and then just by happenstance gets to use those skills, and then you have this awesome logo. How cool is that? That's
totally. Well, it's been cool because she really appreciates it. I mean, she does, like, she'll be in our artist alley, like selling her artwork, which is fantastic. And a lot of the local comic shops here will carry her stuff. Cool. But it's been pretty cool for her because, Charles Vess took her character and did a rendering of it. And so like, she's one of the few people that's actually seen the end thing for the can, because I sent it to her. I was like, hey, you got to see this. Charles Vess just did your character, she's like, I promise I'm not crying right now.
That's so cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Well, you know, as
yeah.
an artist, it's always awesome when you do something and then you have someone else do it, and maybe they do it better than you did, but then it's also like it's your idea. Like
Your
there's
vision, yeah.
There's a head of me floating around there that I did, that one of my ex-coworkers did a marker version of me, which it was way better than mine, but it still was inherently me. And it's still like when people say like, oh, I love that. Who did it? Like she did it. But like I felt proud because even though she did it, it's something that she did based off of something that I originally did. So it's almost like my Picasso moment or my Jackson Pollock moment.
No, totally. Well, it's been fun for her too. Actually, just today I sent her a picture of. I just picked up one of our other artists. He's kind of so he is one of our artist vendors that'll be at the con. His name's Edwin Salas, and he makes like marionettes. He also makes like wooden action figures, but it makes the whole packaging and everything like that too. It's really cool. Yeah. So he did a marionette of Ninkasi, and I just picked it up today, and of course sent her the picture of like, look at this, like just how much her creation is being brought into these different mediums and different things. Like,
so cool.
It's been really fun.
Yeah. Someday we'll get that rhino corn out there, Art Star, and have somebody draw the rhino corn. Somebody, some famous.
Draw a picture of you wearing the rhino corn, Jeff.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, my kids each have a rhino corn sweatshirt.
You have to be wearing it.
Yeah. So those of you who don't know, just Google. I think you can search rhino corn on Redbubble, and you can find Art's artwork. It's a rhino and a unicorn and a guy mixed together somehow. I don't know. My kids love it, and they each have a sweatshirt of it. So, cool. All right. Anybody else have anything else about the Beer City Comic Con, September 29th, 30th, October 1st? Are those the right dates?
That's it. You got
in Asheville. Asheville, not Cherokee, North Carolina, in Asheville at the Harrah's,
North Carolina.
Harrah's Cherokee Center. I almost don't even want to say the Cherokee bit because I don't want to confuse it. But it's Beer City because it's Asheville. Beer and nerdom and intelligence is the best combo. It's great. You can I'm killing brain cells drinking this beer, but I'm just killing the dead ones anyway, so
but right. And I'm we've got some neurogenesis going here. I'm encountering new ideas, so maybe we're building new ones, new connections and stuff as fast as we're killing the brain cells. So we even out at the end of the weekend. I think that's what we're going for.
You're weeding out the weak ones.
There we go. Exactly.
Survival of the fittest brain cells.
That's exactly it. Right. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. And so with that, we can jump back into Antman and Wasp.
Let's do it.
So if those of you who listened to our previous episode, you'll remember we left off when they had to go back to get Scott's old suit because Hank Pym had taken out the whatever receptors in the newer suits, but they need to use those to find the lab, right? They need to reconfigure them to be able to work with whatever to detect the lab somehow, some kind of.
And this is after Scott has been telling them he has destroyed the suit for a while. Yeah. We are just now discovering he did not, in fact, destroy it.
Yeah, so they're kind of pissed, but kind of happy. So, but we finished this scene. So he goes in. And then he's having all kinds of troubles with his suit. He's growing big and small, bigger and smaller, growy, shrinky.
Shrinky, growy.
Yeah, shrinky, growy. And he gets the sweatshirt out of the lost and found and makes it out of the school right in time for Hank to say, hey, do you want a juice box and some string cheese?
Yeah, right.
And he's like, do you really have that? Which is one of the best moments. So we always have to pause at the great moments. I try to keep them in here. So, but by any means, anybody have anything to say about anything, hop in as normally. And so they end up using the suit to track the building. Immediately they find the building, the lab in Ghost's lair, and Scott immediately names his new aunt Ulyssys S. Grant to go try to get to the lab. But before they can get it, Ghost whoops their ass. So we get to really see Ghost in action, and all these fights between Ghost and the shrinky growies are fun because like
Yeah,
you know, sometimes you punch through ghosts, sometimes ghost gets hit, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, they're all over the place. But
Yeah,
she
creative fight scenes are really what keeps you hooked into the Ant-Man movies is just seeing like later like they throw in a giant Pez dispenser at a oncoming motorcycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Ways to make car chases more interesting is throw shit like that in there, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the giant Pez that comes with a big salt and pepper shaker.
Yeah.
But Ghost gets the best of them at this point, and they end up out cold, tied to chairs. And then we get to know Ghost a little bit. Her name's Ava, and she says, "I'm not going to hurt you unless I have to. I need what's in your head." And then she's sort of, you can see she's got these extra powers of whatever. She's trying to get, I guess, the knowledge from. It ends up being that she needs to get whatever Janet's power has, you know, to find Janet to suck her power dry, I guess. I guess is kind of what we find out, right? Is that
what ends up happening? But I feel like but she just doesn't she want like Hank? They like because it's what's his name, Goliath, and like they know that they need something from Hank to like figure out the
Bill Foster,
whatever the algorithm. Yeah, Bill Foster, like that. To figure out why she's getting displaced and to solve that kind of quantum thing that's going on with her molecules or whatever. I don't remember.
Yeah,
exactly
and she is in desperate need of it because she alludes to the pain she's feeling that no one else can.
Well, and they
don't even know about Janet Van Dyne at that point.
Yeah, I don't think
trying to get her. Like,
she just wants
a surprise.
Yeah,
we get to solve everything just by her showing up again. You know, like,
they have all the quantum stuff, and we're about to get the backstory about Elias Starr and all that. But I had to pause. I took a note right here, and I just like so far, and you guys are gonna kill me for this. I know you're gonna get mad because anytime I criticize anything, you guys jump all over me. But I think Ghost so far, I mean, at least in this, I'm not saying in the comics, but the way that in this movie, it's kind of the dumbest thing in the MCU. Like, it's not believable. Like, it doesn't look like something that could really happen. Like, the other things, as weird as they are, you know, Hulk is, it just doesn't like.
Oh, I love that you just said this about a dang on movie where they shrink and grow and shrink and grow.
No problem with
and
that.
then you're like, this is very unbelievable. Joe.
Oh my God. I just made a revelation that I was not aware of. Elias Starr, who is, I guess, Ghost's father.
Yeah, we're about to get to that. So Elias, the backstory that he explains, I think Hank explains through Bill Foster, is that Elias Starr, her father, they were colleagues at S.H.I.E.L.D. Hank had him fired and discredited, according to her. And then she's taking these risks to restore his name.
Elias Starr.
They were working on something, and then
Andy had something prophetic.
Yes.
In the comics,
he had to take risks to restore his name. Yeah, right.
Elias Starr is Egghead.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Well, if you look at the character, you should. I mean, I've
never known Egghead's real name. I just realized I never needed to know Egghead's real name.
Egghead. I've never heard of Egghead.
He's a ridiculous. Well, in DC Comics, he's like a ridiculous guy.
He just
who
came out with a new action figure for him.
But this is just he's a bald guy who was an enemy of Hank Pym early on, and
Wait. So there's an Egghead in DC and in Marvel?
Yeah. Well, Egghead was Vincent Price on the old Batman TV show, and he would just sit there and make "ooh, it's excellent" kind of dumb puns. But
there's a different Egghead.
Yeah,
this Egghead is Dr. Elias Starr. He just happens to have a weird bald egg-shaped head because, you know, this is from September 1962. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby creation, Tales to Astonish number 38 is his initial appearance. And so he's a little ridiculous, but I didn't realize. I never knew his real name was Elias Starr. I never made that connection until I just looked it up now.
So this guy doesn't end up coming in the future movies then, is what you're saying?
I doubt it.
But her father is kind of, sort of, an egg-headed shaped bald guy.
Well, they do show him, right? They show him in the flashback thing, like when they're telling the story, right? Because they talk about, he's got to take risks because Hank discredited his name. So he's making all this stuff in the explosion that made her have molecular equilibrium, which is what she has, and that's what's like.
You don't think that could be a real thing?
Every cell's ripped apart and sewn back together over and over again, is what she says. And then Bill Foster comes and says, "Yeah, it's a quantum anomaly that he found in Argentina."
And that when Scott says, "Do you guys just put quantum in front of everything?"
Does he say that in there?
Yeah, at one point he does that, which is kind of, I think, to your point, is that this seems a little unbelievable. So let's have someone undercut the techno babble.
Yeah, right. Make the joke to
crack a wise about it a little bit.
Though at the same time, that is a thing in quantum physics, that we do know of particles that will disappear and then reappear, one of the theories is that they are leaving our universe and going to another universe and then popping back in. And so someone had that happen on the molecules of their body.
Okay, that helps.
It's good we got the science convention. Voice here.
It's perfect timing, Johnny Shields. We needed you in this episode to help me not hate this.
Need you not to be such a hater sometimes, Joe.
Well, he's helping me not to be a hater.
But you're a hater all the time.
But
we need Johnny to explain the science of Hawkeye's trick arrows to get
exactly.
Joe to stop hating.
I know. Joe can't stand Hawkeye.
He's a bow and arrow guy. That's all he is. He's a guy
he can hang with all of them with a bow and arrow. That makes him a badass. Okay. He's got no super strength. Okay. He's a man.
I had a conversation with Joe the other day, and I asked him, like, this is kind of jumping ahead, but I like, had he seen Endgame yet? And I know we kind of touched on it in the Hawkeye series, but how does he feel about Clint as Ronin, as opposed to Clint just being a man with a bow and arrow? And I don't think he didn't really get.
We'll talk about that.
So you like a guy with
dissect it later.
You like a guy with swords better than a guy who could kill you from 100 yards away.
I don't know.
And hang with superhumans. He can. Joe, can you hang with superhumans and hold your own?
Well, no, I can hang with my neighbor Carl, who has a 3-legged dog and can also shoot a bow and arrow.
Okay,
so Carl's 83 years old and plays the tuba.
Okay, I can hang with Carl, but I'm asking you, can you hang?
Carl rides a 10-speed bike in my neighborhood at less than 1 mile an hour and somehow doesn't fall over. So that is really good. But he can also shoot a bow and arrow because anybody can.
Not anybody can.
Hey, come on. Shooting a bow and arrow is harder. Like,
it is very hard. I'm going to take Joe out.
So I used to work for like wilderness survival skills summer camp out in Portland. And so I had to teach a lot of archery. It's harder than it looks, but it's also super badass and super fun. Once you do get to where you can shoot a bow and arrow, man, you feel fucking awesome.
Really?
Oh my God. Well, and like, so here we go. I told you I was going to be as worse than you guys at tangents. But like one of the best games that we had at this camp is, so we had foam archery. But the only foam part was that the arrows were just normal, real arrows, but you take the sharp point off and put this like foam, big fat foam tip on the end, and then just use real bows and real arrows, and you get to shoot them at each other. And it's kind of like paintball, where like it hurts to get hit. It's something you definitely don't want to get hit.
Yeah, it's not going to kill you, but it hurts like hell. Yeah, and you can aim at each other's balls.
Yeah, I mean, technically headshots when you're going things against the rules. But
balls are
although it's funny because balls are fair game. But these, you're playing with like kids and stuff. Like they don't have much balls to speak of, so it'd be really hard to hit them if you're going for it. But it was funny too because like my kids were in the camp all summer because my wife and I both worked there. And so we'd always play like just dodge arrow, which is dodgeball, but you have bows and arrows instead, and you're shooting at the other team and stuff. And then eventually we'd usually be like, all right, it's counselors versus students. And so we just put all the kids on one side and then the 2 counselors for the group. But then that was your opportunity to really nail the kids that have been driving you crazy all week.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, like, oh my God, yeah. But a lot of times, like my son would be in my group, and I just go over and usually like headshots are against the rules and stuff. And I just go to my other counselor, like, hey, you can totally hit Sawyer in the head. I don't care. So we just like drill him. Though the bad thing though is that he's a really good shot. Like he's really good at archery. So if you hit him, he totally get you back. Like and really like do a draw like way behind his ears is coming super fast. It's like wham! nailed in the face. So I learned my lesson pretty quickly about that. Like, he's a better shot than I am. So like, don't hit him in the face. He'll get you back. But anyways, just to say,
yeah,
archery is fucking awesome, dude. Like, and if you can do good archery, you can do some cool shit. Like, and you also have to be kind of a ninja, like Ronan too. So yeah, exactly.
It's just like he's a guy at the bar who's really good at darts. Like, he's just Dale at the local pub.
I'm also really good at darts, so I am that guy.
Yeah.
Joe's just a hater.
All right, back to molecular disequilibrium. Which,
there we go. Which we've established does have scientific backing. So
I think if you tell me, for some reason, if you tell me some of her cells are going to another dimension and back, that's somehow more believable than whatever whatever it was. That helps. But I guess my thing is like, where's the blood? Like, what's happening to her blood and everything? So how's her heart still pumping if her cells aren't even there?
Yeah. The whole thing, like her cells getting torn apart and then stitched back together, it's like, well, you'd have to have this condition and the powers of Wolverine to really make that work, where you're healing as fast as you can, like, get torn apart kind of thing.
Yeah. So I guess that does kind of like what? But she can barely stand it any longer. She's gonna die, and it's really painful. So that at least you can tell.
Well, here's the thing, Joe.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Most people aren't thinking that hard about that. They're just like, oh, that's fucking cool or that sucks. Like, well, what happened to her blood? Like,
most people aren't taking notes for a podcast about it. And that was like, I didn't pay that much attention until I had to type it. I was like, what? Molecular decent? What is this? How is this happening? You just like buy that she's, it's painful and she's gonna die if she doesn't change something. But like walking through this stuff, kind of, I don't know. I guess, but I believe in ghosts, so maybe, I don't know. Anyway, but so she likes Bill, but other people at S.H.I.E.L.D. weaponized her, and she spied and killed for S.H.I.E.L.D. They lied to her and said they were going to cure her. And then it cuts to the goofy moment with Cassie soccer shoes. But I want to put a pin in this for a second, because this whole backstory, they show her doing all this kick-ass stuff with S.H.I.E.L.D., right? With the ghost costume. It's kind of badass. So I wondered is there any speculation or potential talk of, I could see that being a series of her S.H.I.E.L.D. chapter, of being a series on Disney Plus sometime.
I don't think so.
No talk about that.
They're making the Thunderbolts movie where she's in it. So if we get it, we might get into her backstory there.
But I can't. It's too many. It's an ensemble cast kind of thing. So I think there's too many people. Like, look what they did with Black Widow and Yelena. Like, you get a little of her backstory, but can you imagine having to do that for almost every other character? Like, we gotta get more Red Guardian stuff. We gotta do some more. One of Joe's other favorite characters, some more Bucky stuff.
We
gotta
Bucky.
do some Taskmaster stuff.
What? So you don't like Bucky? Oh man, we're gonna get into it now.
Fuck Bucky.
Joe, we're
Bucky
really
sucks.
gonna fight today.
Bucky's one of my favorite characters.
Fight you this much.
Bucky's a douche. No offense.
He was being mind controlled. Okay. Bucky, Bucky that we get at the cookout is the best Bucky.
I hate Bucky from the comics, really. I don't mind him in the MCU as much, except
like
Sebastian Stan.
Ed Brubaker's Bucky, like that whole thing. You didn't like Ed Brubaker's run with Captain America when Bucky comes back.
He doesn't.
He
hasn't read that much.
Yeah.
You don't like 1940s Bucky costume.
Yeah, when he's
right?
just best buddy and the weird
he's the guy we're teaching about
that's a story character.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I'm just
Ed Brubaker's version of the Winter Soldier is Tres Magnifique.
Wait, is Ed Brubaker going to be at your Comic-Con in Beer City?
No, unfortunately, he couldn't come. He was one that I really wanted. I love Ed Brubaker. Like, his independent stuff is amazing. His run on Captain America was amazing. Like, I mean, he's
Catwoman.
So no hard feelings. You're not mad at him for not coming.
Good.
No hard feelings.
No, I mean, people got lives they got to do. I'll get him maybe next year.
Next year you'll get Ed Brubaker.
Let's hope.
Yeah, who knows? We'll
yeah,
see.
Ed Brubaker, baby. That's a cool name. So.
So here's the thing, and just we'll get back to the movie, but like the Bucky thing is like, so what Ed Brubaker did was take this kind of silly character and make him cool to where the backstory was like that whole thing of him being this little geeky guy was all a show because he was really the assassin going like, so Captain America could keep his hands clean, but they would send Bucky in behind the lines and go and slit everybody's throats so that like, you know, so that Cap could come in a blaze of glory and the newspaper reels would show it. And then he comes stand next to it. So they made him into like a total badass. And then of course they get him and turn him into the Winter Soldier and everything like that. But he was already a badass before he became the Winter Soldier.
I love when they repurpose characters that are just sitting there or not doing anything or lame and make him cool. Like the whole Robin turning him into Deathstrike or whatever he was called, like Deathstrike or whatever. Nightwing. Yeah. See, I'm terrible at this.
Nightwing
just the idea of that. I mean, we've talked through this podcast a little bit about throughout the movies. There'll be little spots where just some random character in the background has a name of something that's been in a comic, and they may never use it again, but they use it just because it's there and they have the knowledge, and nerds will like it. Yeah, we call it that. Like a nerd dropping. I can't remember what we called it, but it was like a little just I don't know if that's
it was the Easter egg, but then I was calling it like what came first, the Easter egg or the Easter chicken, I guess.
Easter chicken is something that may or may not actually come to fruition.
But so it's not an Easter egg until it's an Easter chicken until they use it later, and then it becomes an Easter egg.
Yeah, then it becomes an Easter egg.
Okay.
I like it. I like how you turn it on its head.
So like basically your Elihas Starr theory will classify as an Easter chicken. Now
until they officially call him Egghead.
Yeah.
Then it's an Easter egg.
Which they may never do. So it may never become an Easter egg, but now it's an Easter chicken.
It's like it's an Easter egg that was left there for comic book people. I mean, that get it, you know, like, and that's part of the thing. If they gave it away, it wouldn't be as much fun. You wouldn't have to discover it. It was just out there in the open. You know? Like,
So Egghead is not an egg yet, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
He's a chicken.
Wow, that's getting deep now.
All right.
I do still have a question about the egghead thing. Like, what would have there been battles between Marvel and DC as far as like court battles over names like you can't use Egghead?
Well, Egghead was kind of like a slang term for nerd in general.
Oh, Egghead is just an insult.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I think it's one of those like not copyrightable kind of.
But like if DC,
but there have been there's been disputes here and there. I mean, there's you know, like very obvious
Captain Marvel thing is the biggest
was like a copyright that they snatched up before DC could get their ducks in a row. And there's a lot of back and forth, especially with like the same creators. Like Jack Kirby you know, famously worked for both companies, and he was just a wellspring of ideas. But sometimes there's similarities, like, you know, Thanos and Darkseid have a lot of general foreboding ogre similarity kind of things. And you know, there's a lot of back and forth and feeding off each other, and I think they're man. You know, Deadpool is basically a Deathstroke knockoff that has kind of come into his own. So I mean, but it's so back and forth, I don't think it's even worth it to try to sue each other over copyright infringement anymore. Because, you know,
well, they probably have so many lawyers involved in all of it, don't they? Everything's probably got to go through legal anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when they create, I don't know if they care that much about what the comic book guys are doing. It's when they have to try to make a money-making franchise, and maybe it's a different thing.
Once we get into the MCU and all this stuff too, so yeah, I guess. And then I was just thinking with it reminds me of what you saying, Jack Kirby and those guys going back and forth between the two franchises. So is this a weird thing with damn it, who's the Guardians of the Galaxy guy? Gunn,
James Gunn.
James Gunn going to taking over the DCU.
Yeah. So is it? Do people get like upset and brand loyalty upset?
Oh, there's I don't know if it's brand loyalty, but right now, the Zack Snyder DC movie fans, I don't even know if they don't like James number Gunn as much as it sounds like they do. They're a loud, vocal, probably minority, given the
there's obviously numbers. Not very many of them, because none of those movies did very well.
right. The movies don't do well, and it's, you know, like they're 90% slow motion. Look how cool we are. You got to be cool before you can say that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not gonna go off on that tangent, but they're ready to hate anything that's not what Zack Snyder has done, because they didn't let Zack Snyder. They're always like, finish the Snyderverse or sell the Snyderverse to Netflix so he can keep making his, and then you can do your own. We just need more of that. And so they're ready to pounce on anything James Gunn says or does. That so this is like a but I think James Gunn knew that coming in. He's very kind of plugged in, so he's like, all right, I'm going to have to deal with this Zack Snyder mess.
Did James Gunn do Blue Beetle?
No, that was already in production, but I think that's going to be considered part. Like, he likes it enough
part of the new,
because he's the Kevin Feige.
I heard him,
right?
I heard him say that on a podcast, James Gunn. And honestly, like, I think he knows that, but like we said, like the Zack Snyder people are relatively few in number. I couldn't be more excited about James Gunn taking over the DC universe, and I'm super psyched to see what he does with it, because like, I like, there's some of those movies I liked as far as Zack Snyder's ones, but in general, I don't think he did really just about anybody justice at all.
Ironically, Justice League.
I caught myself.
No pun intended.
I'm gonna let that. I'm gonna leave it out there. That's the layout for you guys. But yeah, so I'm like super excited to see James Gunn get in there and like have some fun with stuff. Hopefully, we actually get a Superman that's a real character that we can relate to and stuff. That's not just a powered guy that you never get to know at all. Like, they never characterized him at all. Like, anyways,
Superman.
that's all. That's it. Whereas like, Clark Kent is the real character. Superman's just the guy who goes and punches things. Like, you got to get to know Clark Kent.
Yes.
But yeah.
Okay, this is great. Yeah,
and
this is great.
Just on the offset, I'll say Brandon.
I'm telling you, tangents. Like, I'll go over this.
Yeah, that's what we do. But I think I've seen people complaining that, or suggesting that James Gunn is just going to turn the DCU into the Guardians of the Galaxy. Is that the big like fear complaint?
Well, he's done a Suicide Squad movie already.
Oh, okay.
Everyone thinks that's going to be like a silly, and he did like the Peacemaker TV series with John Cena.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like black comedy in there, so I think they're thinking it's all going to have that tone. And I think James Gunn is better, and like, he knows how to change.
And he's versatile. Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, they're like, I want to say they're like B- like heroes and villains. So it's not like he's dealing with like the big names. So, and if you read any of these books or you like, it's kind of over the top, fucking Rat King, like shit like that, And what's the guy? I was messing his name up. Nathan Fillion's character the other day, Joe. The dude with the arms that fall off.
Oh, arm fall off boy, isn't that his name?
I don't think that's it.
Or is it arm fall off guy? Andy, you're the one who told me.
There was a guy named Arm Fall Off Boy. Yes.
Yeah.
Like the Legion of Superheroes, I think, had like just auditions, and that's when like they had a comedy issue where like idiots with weirdo powers. I can take my arm off and hit you in the face with it, and then put my arm back on.
Fall off boy. Like, what?
Those movies in that show kind of highlight those kind of characters. And sure, you had like Amanda Waller, but then it's not like, you're not really dealing with Superman. You're not dealing with fucking Booster Gold for even. Like, you're not really dealing with higher ups. It's like, so you kind of
Booster Gold is a joke character as well.
But you still kind of expect, with Suicide Squad and a Peacemaker for it to be like that, just because they're not like super known characters to most people. Most people
that's like the level of, that's where Guardians of the Galaxy were before. That's
what I was going to say.
Them in.
That's exactly. They're a weird off, thing that nobody really thought twice about, and then one of the main things of the franchise.
The expectations were not like, there were not many expectations for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Except in my head, because I was reading the Abnett and Lanning comics that it's all based on. I was very excited about it.
Yeah, which are super good. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they're really cool and reinvented the concept. It was fantastic. The whole Annihilation thing was, I loved it, especially because of I didn't like everything else that was going on. I think it was like Civil War and a bunch of crap I didn't like.
Civil War hate.
But wasn't James Gunn also not as known when he started the Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, they handed this more unknown thing to this unknown guy. He did wonders with it. It was unbelievable. It's like changed his life. He's now James Gunn, you know, the DC. But so can you
Excelsior.
be back in the bottle though? Like now you're sorry, James Gunn, you're no longer unknown guy. You are now known guy. You know, like you're now Tom Brady. You're not the 7th round draft pick that sucked and at the combine was terrible. You're now Tom Brady that's Super Bowl winning. Can
But
he
would
be
still, if he was 7th rate combine, whatever sports ball talk you're saying, he would be working hard to be the next Tom Brady. His drive would be there regardless of the fame. So that doesn't change. A creative's drive to be top is going to be there regardless if we only see them as 7th round draft pick or whatever. Their drive is bigger than that. So most creatives are always going to be aiming to top their game because that's their goal.
Unless they get complacent, unless he's just enjoying the riches and then he's fine.
I find that most creatives have a hard time reaching complacency because most creatives are their own worst critic. There are people who don't watch their own movies. There are people who don't listen to their own music because they're their own worst critics. So it's probably really hard for someone in a craft field to be like, I've made it. I don't even think James Cameron sits down and goes, I've made it.
Well, George Lucas,
his movie doesn't do as well. George Lucas has lots of complaints about movies still.
That's my example. Like he was a nobody and was starving artist, made Star Wars. Star Wars went big and then he made a bunch of crap. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying this is gonna happen because
man, the Dark Crystal was fucking ruled.
Then what crap to who, right? Subjective.
My kids love it.
Everyone loves, and you can also make something you love that the world is not going to get. Like I can guarantee you, my favorite Adam Sandler movie is nobody else's favorite Adam Sandler movie because he wasn't even funny in that movie.
What's your favorite Adam Sandler movie?
Spanglish.
Spanglish. Oh, did you like Funny People?
I did, but I like Spanglish a lot. But I cried in Spanglish. It had my heart. But my point is. There are many people who would say that was not a good movie for Adam Sandler, and I am like, that's a great movie for him because I'd like to see him as not, telling poop jokes. You
don't want to see him do that.
It speaks to up in your game and taking a higher challenge, which James Gunn is doing, right?
Yeah, so I'm not hating on James Gunn.
He's done what he can do and done it very well, and then he got this other opportunity, which is a big leap for him. So it's like, oh shit, now the pressure's on again. Before he had something to prove, and now he's got something to prove again.
That he's not gonna Lucas it. Yeah, that he's gonna stay.
Before Guardians of the Galaxy, he had written 2 movies, written one and directed and wrote another one that were basically superhero spoof movies. One was The Specials. Not even necessarily spoofs, but just sort of like offbeat comedy versions of superheroes. One's called The Specials, and the other was called Super, starring Rainn Wilson in it. And
I remember that one.
He also wrote the 2 Scooby-Doo live-action movies, which is interesting because Scooby-Doo is in the Warner Brothers universe, and they do they've done some Scooby-Doo DC
Batman
crossovers and stuff.
Yeah,
but he also wrote the script for Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead movie, which was actually really good.
Okay.
I don't think I realized that.
Worlds colliding kind of a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not hating on James Gunn. My wife went to prom with his brother, so that's she's from St. Louis. So we're one step away from being in the DC EU.
Yeah, that's all that's called.
Or the MCU.
That's it. Yep, that's the only thing.
He might just say, "Hey, James, what was that girl you went to prom with? Yeah, Amy, call her and see if she knows any nerds that want to be in the movie." That could happen.
Right.
Well, I was in on this conversation, so you need to call me too.
Oh, Johnny, you're in, baby. You had us.
You need a really tall guy because I'm 6'7". You can't tell on here, but they might need a tall guy. Why not?
Oh, they'll always need a tall guy.
It could be a supervillain or something.
You gotta have a 6'7" guy with a goddamn hammer behind him. Yeah. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Are you willing to wear a horse mask to be Beta Ray Bill?
Yes. Thank you.
Or you could wear a mask or special shoes like Cassie's soccer shoes.
Segue back to the film.
Segue.
We have the goofy moment where she can't. It's an emergency. Answer it. What's 911? She can't find her soccer shoes. Because I thought it was an emergency. She said 911. But we found out Bill's going to extract energy from Janet when they find her to cure Ava. And Hank says, "No, that'll kill her. No, you can't do that. It's going to kill her." Then he has a heart attack. And they're like, "Oh, you got to help him." He's like, "Oh, my medicine. Oh no, I'm gonna die." And I gotta admit, he had me fooled too. I thought he was really dying. And they're like, "No, get the Altoid tin. His medicine is in there." And then they open the Altoid tin, and it's a booby trap where ants come flying out and become huge, and they scare the shit out of Bill. Bill Foster. Well, that was the other thing I think that helps. Do you think a tactic they used is have Lawrence Fishburne explain all this crazy stuff that you can't believe, but because you're going to believe anything Lawrence Fishburne says?
Yeah. It's the key to any good science fiction script is to figure out how to get the exposition across without boring the shit out of everybody. And putting it in Lawrence Fishburne's mouth will help.
Yeah,
and Lawrence
Curtis
has done that plenty of times before. So
yes,
he's perfect for the job.
So anyway, so Scott, once they're all distracted by the giant ant, Scott shoots Ava with something that knocks her down, whatever he's shooting. And I don't know that I remember them shooting stuff before, but so it's just like a laser pulse.
It's from the first movie. I don't know if this is the exact bit, but there's the little discs that you throw, and then you can enlarge and shrink things.
Oh, okay.
So like in Civil War, like here they throw this little Hot Wheel truck, and then they threw it, and then they throw the disc at it, and then suddenly the truck
makes
really
it
huge.
big.
And, yeah,
he just shot something at her. I thought that knocked her down at that point. I can't remember, but
I don't remember exactly.
Bill's afraid of the ants, so they get away with the lab because he's afraid of giant ants. And then Hank says that Elihas Starr was a traitor, and all that was not true, and he stole Hank's plans, and that Bill's lying to Ava. So he's still saying Bill's the criminal. And then as Scott reassures Wasp, he gets a call from Luis, who needs him to fix something for their big proposal in the morning. So he's got to come there right now. And so, of course, Scott tells them where they are, which ends up dooming them later. But just as the guys are bantering, the ex-con guys are bantering about why the undercarriage wash is unnecessary in warm climates, Simon Burch walks around the corner and agrees, yeah, that kind of underwash carriage is meant for our more snowy sister states. And I love this line, "Who are you and why do you know so much about car wash protocol?" Like, these guys to me, like, as you all know, these are always my favorite moments. These goofy characters that like add the funny. I'm Simon Burch. And then we have the whole truth serum bit where it's not truth serum. Yeah, it's fucking truth serum. Holy shit. And then we get the Luis story where he tells the story and everybody's, saying the words that he's saying, which is so great. Like every time I watch this movie, I watch that story. I rewind that story, watch it like 3 times.
Yeah, he's the best.
Definitely something that Quantumania was missing.
Oh, it is? Yeah, so I haven't seen that yet, so I'll be missing that. You
got spoiler, Andy.
Spoiler, yeah.
Is it a spoiler to say that something is not in a thing?
Not in it.
Listen, as much as art spoils things,
Joe was expecting to see him in Antman and Quantumania. He was going to look for that. He was going to look for it. Like, where's this?
But then he's not going to find it, and then he's going to be disappointed. So
Luis isn't even in it?
At least it's better for him to be disappointed not knowing.
I don't think he's in it at all.
Than being disappointed knowing going into it like, he's not here. He's not
I think
here.
we need.
I really want to watch this movie.
I think we need a Luis animated series on Disney Plus where it's just him telling stories.
I've seen many a meme where they want someone to recap the entire MCU timeline just as Luis, though.
Yes, that would be awesome.
That would be
money.
And he has to do it as Big Joker from next Friday. Is it next Friday or Friday after that?
I'd watch that very much.
Okay, so throughout this whole truth serum bit was very funny and great. Baba Yaga shows up when Ghost comes in. It's Baba Yaga, and they're all freaked out because they think it's Baba Yaga. And then Simon gets outside to chase her because she gets I can't remember what did she show up and do. She did something. I didn't write my notes.
Tried to take the lab. She just needs to get into that equipment to stabilize herself.
So but Simon has a flat, so he calls the feds. Randall Park, who happens to be doing close-up magic at Online University at the time, it was a great little side thing. And then suddenly Janet takes over Scott's body, and Paul Rudd is the goddamn national treasure for this scene. The way he believably portrays Michelle Pfeiffer's character in Paul Rudd's body. That was so good.
Yeah, and they all can talk to him.
Yeah, he's holding Hank's hand and they're talking to him. He's like touching her cheek. I'm just like, only Paul Rudd could do that that well. It's so good.
I've got to say, I was impressed by that because when I saw what was happening, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be awful. And then as it went on, I was like, he's kind of pulling this off. Actually, you know what? He kind of did pull that off.
Yes.
You get that moment.
This whole mental thing.
Yeah.
When he calls her Jelly Bean, you're kind of like, oh my God, that's her. You know, it's like not weird at all, except that
it could have been played completely for stupid, but it was actually heartfult.
Paul Rudd is indeed a treasure. Yeah. I think we forget that. I don't forget that, but some people do. I quote him at least once a week.
Well, as Janet, he says, meet me in the wasteland beyond the quantum void. And Janet says, you got 2 hours to get me out. So now we have our timer set. Calls Hope Jelly Bean, ending all hope of a romantic future between the two, because how can you bang a dude who was your mom for a second?
Your mom.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can.
Is that where your brain went? That whole heartwarming moment, and you're
of course,
yeah.
Universally together.
He's not gonna
I like that.
Him.
That's a sentence. How can you bang a dude who was your mom for a second?
Yeah, that's the name of this episode. Anyway, Scott comes back and looks puzzled. How did I get up here? And he's holding Hank's hand. Funny moment. And then Hope's about to go to the quantum realm, but Luis calls and says the feds and Ghost are coming, and the truth serum is making him tell the truth. And I hate how you do the dishes. So who puts plates on the top rack? They don't go there. that old bit, very funny. Scott has to go home because the FBI is on the way. Cassie, but when he gets there, luckily Cassie covers for him. He barfed a lot, like a lot. Like that whole thing between Randall Park and Cassie is hilarious. Hank and Hope are caught. As soon as they shrink the lab, they're caught. Everybody's everywhere. Evil FBI guy steals the lab, and then Ghost whoops his ass and gets it immediately. Now she's got the lab again. Cassie tells Scott he should help Hope. So just as Hope is about to shrink a load-bearing wall, Scott shows up with a suit and an FBI disguise and ants covering the cameras and saves the day there, all because Cassie said he should help her. And they have a little moment where she says, I could be her partner, but he's like, no, you want Hope, I get it, and all that a little bit. Ghost and Bill decide to go for it. So they're, in the lab about to go destroy Janet or whatever. But Scott's pep said, you have to make a list. And they decide Hank has to drive because Scott and Hope have the best shot of protecting him. So he's like, let me do this. He has to dive, not drive. He's got to dive into the quantum realm. So, and then Luis shows up and goes, what's up? Remember that from the movie? What's up? And then he said he wants a suit. I would like a suit, even with minimal powers, or even with no powers. I would like a suit. And then Hank promises Bill he'll help him figure out a cure for Ava when he gets back. So he and Bill kind of reconcile here. And he's down to 15 minutes that he's got to get her, or she's gone forever, I guess. And then Ghost shows up and starts kicking Scott's ass. And Scott steals my famous line. Andy can vouch for me that I say this all the time. Everything's bad over here. Everything here sucks. He's getting his ass kicked by her. Everything's bad. And then Hank dives, the lab shrinks, then Burch shows up and the chase is on. So we've got, that's my kids walked in, I had to explain to them what's happening. Like, okay, so they're really tiny inside the quantum realm, inside that lab that just shrunk, that's inside the van that they're all chasing in. So that they're inside that, what's inside that, inside the whole thing. So what?
It's like an Inception thing, where they're in the car, and then they're in the dream, and then they're in another dream.
Quantum realm.
That's right.
So this is Action Jackson right now. Stan Lee has his bit about the 60s. We get the giant Pez you talked about. Oh, you got Pez. Awesome action-packed stuff.
Just watching Luis react to shrinking and growing and all the crazy stunts is also great.
Right,
always add a guy that just loves it. Yeah. Scott getting big, battle over the lab between Burch, Ghost, and Hope and Scott. So much fun in the streets of San Francisco when he's riding that truck like a scooter. that's like he's got his knee on the back of it. Like that was the cool part. I love when he's big. And then Luis gets to use the Hot Wheels rally case. What's up, Art Sir?
My mind. I'm sorry.
You just think of something?
You like
I
love
know what
when
you're
he's
talking
big.
about,
Oh, I just love when
Little and big, big and little.
I knew you were gonna pick up on that. I was hoping we got past it for a few moments, and I was hoping we were gonna stay past it.
This is Joe's
No, he was continuing on with his blurb, and
but it's because
read your face.
Joe has instilled in me crude wiener jokes. So I can't help it. Whenever something comes
Let's
up,
bypass that. Keep going, Joe.
No more wiener jokes.
No.
Well, Luis used the Hot Wheels rally case, and he sees the cool purple car. He's like, "I love you, Dr. Pym." And then Hope whoops everybody's ass and joins Luis. And then Burch gets away from Scott because he's too big. And then Burch gets on a boat. Scott gets on Antonio Banderas. After a seagull keeps eating all the ants, Scott gets huge and then takes the lab from Burch. Then Hank is tiny and starts hallucinating, but finds Jan in the quantum realm, and she looks fabulous. And this is one thing I said to Art the other day at work. I was like, here's where I had to pause for a second. I was like, okay, how does she look so good in the quantum realm? Does she have makeup in the quantum realm? Like, she looks fabulous.
You have the most
time passes differently in the quantum realm.
Exactly what I was telling him. But then also I was like, she's been down there, even if time hadn't passed, she's been down there so long. It's like Gilligan's Island. Like she's probably,
you figure it out.
Yeah,
that's exactly like Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
What's her day to day like? What's her day to day?
She's created, and if you watch Quantum Man, you see like world down there.
There's a whole society down there.
So that I haven't seen yet. So I'll get into that. So it's fair for me to wonder like how she got such perfect makeup in the like Hank can't even stand there without hallucinating, yet she can look perfect. But she explains it herself in a little bit. So I'll explain what she explains in a minute. But Hank can hardly even exist, but she's got time to do her hair and makeup, is what I said. And then but then she explains adaptation and evolution. She says it's part adaptation, part evolution. I've been down here so long, it changes you. I'm different. So apparently she can evolve into never needing makeup and just having perfect.
Think about it. Think about it, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, human, we evolved, right? So imagine being somewhere where time moves differently. If you've been there for a really long time, right?
Like when I go somewhere that doesn't have a bidet.
Yeah,
like I evolved to the bidet.
We've evolved to not be able to really. We have to adapt back to pre-bidet life.
Yes, have nasty, stinky buttholes.
But basically, what ends up happening,
nasty, stinky.
It's one of those things where like you've now like she's gotten quote unquote powers or whatever.
Buttholes.
All
right. Andy, we don't need no more.
Nasty.
Andy.
All right, one more, Andy.
Andy.
Nasty.
Listen.
Okay, Andy, bring that song back at the end of the episode when you sing.
I'll do my best.
No, let's never have that song happen again.
Let's let Art finish his thought.
I was just gonna underscore whatever Art was saying.
Oh,
yeah, this is true. But it's just the fact. This is my theme music. This is my theme music, ladies.
You're distracting the Art Star.
All right. If we know anything, Art is easily distracted.
Yes.
Wow. Anywho.
Speaking of stinky buttholes, I think my dog just farted.
This podcast is taking a turn. It's derailed.
But like
we're almost
so
to the end.
So, she's been there a long time. So, her physiology has probably changed on the inside. So since she can do the Jedi mind trick type shit. So it could happen, right? It could happen.
You win the no prize.
Like let's say 300 years from now, right? We'll all be dead, but humans will probably be walking in space for all we know, right?
They already did.
No, I mean literally walking.
We've done that.
Been there, done that.
Space without the use of a suit. They will be able to breathe in the depths of space.
How about we just finish searching the ocean?
Speaking of which,
yeah,
awesome Comic-Con tie-in. because we have a woman coming who's a biologist who's an expert on tardigrades, water bears.
Ooh, yes.
Which, can survive in the vacuum of space, can go into a dormant state and then be revived like when they come back. So, and that's one of the things, like when I talked to her, like we got into this whole thing of like, can we use that to adapt to like onto our human physiology? And there's all this other shit that they can survive through, all this crap, like radiation and stuff that we could never survive through. And just trying to figure out what's going on with their genes, because like it's made up of the same shit that ours is. So there's no reason why ours couldn't do that. It's just not compounded the right way.
Maybe we haven't evolved to that point yet.
Yeah, maybe.
That's exactly.
And we're still very primitive. So what is what is she doing at your con?
Actually, so we were going to have some. I wanted to have one just talking about tardigrades, but some people were like, I don't know if that's going to sell. And I'm like, dude, that's fascinating. But anyways, but she is sitting on our panel that's just, can we find life on other planets? And so it's a couple of biologists, a neuroscientist, and then an astrophysicist.
Oh my God. We got to get to this con. We got to get to this con.
Talking, just having fun with it, just kicking around, talking about the, what is it, Fermi paradox and stuff, but then also just like, what could we imagine them being like, blah, blah, blah. So,
I can't wait for your con. That's the best. We got to get to it. I'm excited.
But there are tardigrades in this movie. They are. She even says, watch out for the tardigrades. They're cute, but they'll eat you.
Yeah, they're creepy.
Yeah. There you go.
Anyway.
See? Tied in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, tied it right in. Yeah. Where was I? Scott passes out. And Luis because he's too big and he can only do it for so long. And Luis gets the lab, but Ghost steals it. And then Ghost grows the lab. Hank and Janet ascend, and Hope saves Scott at the last minute because he's about to get crushed. Hope saves Scott
because he's going to drown under the water.
Oh, because he's going to drown. Yeah, she goes down because he saves her later, I think, right? Yeah, she saves Scott because he's drowning and finds him or whatever. And then just as Hank and Janet are almost back, Ghost connects to the portal deal to steal Janet's power, but Scott and Hope stop her by fighting her. And then that's when Scott kind of helps Hope because she almost gets hit by the thing, right? When he's coming back, I think. I just love, took a moment when she's helping him like underwater, and there's like just the thought process behind writing all this is like, it's so exciting. All these things happening at once. They've just such good action writing. Anyway, Janet heals Ghost. She goes up to her and grabs her face, and she's got all these powers now with her adaptation. And I was going to ask about this. So in the comics at all, none of this has happened, right? Janet Van Dyne isn't some like all powerful, character that can do all this stuff, or not. Is this just a movie thing?
No, I don't think so. Not that
there's been 60 years of stories, but it's
right. So maybe there's something we saw that was inspiring.
But yeah, Janet Van Dyne is the original Wasp, one of the original founding Avengers, and was not like lost for 30 years or anything like that. But this is because they decided to have Hank Pym be an elder.
Yeah.
So maybe not, and make him sort of hard to like, which I guess sort of implies his most infamous storyline where he goes crazy and accidentally maybe not even accidentally, the whole,
I don't think it was accidentally.
The thing with Hank Pym for a while was that he hit his wife once, and there was this time when he was having like mental problems. He was kind of he was under a lot of stress. He was kind of fracturing into different personalities. He became Yellow Jacket, and he was kind of more of an arrogant asswipe, and then I can't remember the context but like Janet's trying to deal with all this because they're married, and then like he's sort of, the way I heard the story was it was supposed to be like written as he just kind of shoves her, like pushes her aside and says no, blah 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 blah, whatever. But the artist drew it like a full-on backhand swat, and she's like knocking down, and that became his like the defining moment of what Hank Pym was. Like he was, and he people have tried to redeem him a few times to try to like explain away. All right, he was in a really bad spot. He's ridiculously contrite about it. He's really trying to reform and be better. But then someone else always comes around and kind of
brings back that he actually is kind of this bad dude. Yeah. Like or he's one of those characters that like flip flops a lot.
Yeah.
Between like he redeems himself and he's a great hero now, and then he does something like terrible because like what was it like? I don't know where he is right now, but for a while he and Ultron like melded together.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
was Ultron. Like,
yeah, he was the creator of Ultron in the comics, and it was
right.
And like his great shame was that Ultron went crazy evil, but his brain patterns were based on his own. So he felt like at some level, I am Ultron, and that horrible, genocidal, freaky robot is me.
Maniac is me.
Which is kind of like an I don't want to say, I'm gonna say awesome because I'm a Sith. Fuck it. Which is kind of like an awesome trope in comics when they do stuff like that. Like Magneto has always done it. Like even right now you have like Beast is. I guess it boils down to that whole like that, the thin line between insanity and genius. And how you go mad. Like you have these awesome ideas that you want to have happen, that you go so far that you don't give a fuck about anything else other than seeing your shit come to fruition. But
you're not thinking of consequences at the moment.
Yeah.
So involved in being a genius.
So now you have like Apocalypse now might end up being one of the saviors of the X-Men. You have Madeline Pryor. She's still out there fucking killing people, but she's also kind of a savior. So it's that whole back and forth. It's like an evolution of the anti-hero, right? So it's like
the dark side of science, which could be an interesting panel at the con as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
We'll call it
Science is all about coulda, not shoulda sometimes.
Right.
That's the name of your
lecture. It's the the classic Jurassic Park problem was they're so obsessed with whether they could do it, they never stop to ask should we do it, right?
Yeah.
That's not the exact quote,
but close enough.
But essentially that, and but that's the thing we always run into with these characters, and they do it in the movies with Tony Stark and stuff, like with Ultron and other things, like can we do this? I don't know. If we can, that'd be awesome. But then
Tony Stark writes it off in the Age of Ultron movie. He's like, I don't want to hear the man was not meant to meddle medley. Like he is specifically going.
Exactly.
I don't want to be told that I shouldn't do this because I want to do it. Which I guess like throwing a little bit of that into Tony Stark is part keeping with the original Ultron story, is that he was created. Although really, the first Ultron was like a hot water heater with tank treads. It was like he was just like a little lab assistant kind of guy. He didn't intend for it to really evolve into what it became, but it was there.
Right.
So anyway, bring it back to the movie. Michael Douglas is Hank Pym, and he's irritable and he's hard to get along with, and he's kind of like does things you don't agree with and makes mistakes, and that's kind of in keeping with that.
Well, I think it's I mean, they've done a good job of making the two Wasps and the two generations of Ant-Mans and Wasps kind of homages to everyone, and all that. So
and this is like the original Janet Van Dyne was just like really kind of a sexist trope,
misogynist stuff.
I look at these dreamy boys like Thor. He's so beautiful, and I just love fashion and stuff like that. So I just want to be seen. It was just like
she just had a little mini skirt was like her costume and stuff. Like it was just kind of silly, ridiculous.
But like interesting, like she's one of the people, like they did sort of play with her being like a fashion designer in that like her costume is almost different every time you see it.
Every time
he's got many different looks, and like some people, Spider-Man has a lot of looks too, but like he always goes back to
he always comes back to his classic.
But the Wasp is always doing interesting weird stuff with her outfits, which
is a fun thing to do, and like so it makes it kind of like an Iron Man kind of thing where you get to keep changing it up and make it like, oh well, what's he gonna wear this time, but also what they've done with the Wasp too is like really make her into a strong, powerful woman. She's been the leader of the Avengers before, and like an awesome character to follow. So
I kind of think it makes comic book artists have a little more fun. It's like, here, make up a new Wasp costume. You can have whatever you want to do with it, and we can roll with it.
We can always change it if you don't like it.
We'll change it 3 issues from now.
Well, after Janet heals the ghost, Luis pops in and says, "Cops are coming," like all of them. And so they hatch a plan with a giant suit distraction. And so we got a plan. They just take off, and then we see he gives the giant suit, and then they're like, "Oh, we got you, Scott." And then it deflates, and he's not there. We see him run around in his underwear and his socks, and he comes back. And then we get this awesome scene between Jimmy Woo. This might be my favorite scene in the movie, where Jimmy Woo, gets to the house, and again Scott's there, and Will Woo see Scott again? He's like, "Oh, what do you mean, like dinner or something?" He's like, well, "I don't know."
Right. Like,
why, unless you wanted to? Like, did you want to? Like, what kind of dinner would you think? I don't know. I thought you planned the evening. It's like they have that little thing.
What's crazy is Randall Park kind of plays this exact same character on the now canceled The Rock series. Like, he's actually Randall Park, but he's now like.
You're talking about Young Rock?
Yeah, Young Rock. Yeah. So he's like Randall Park, but he's almost like Mario Lopez and extra Randall Park.
Oh, he doesn't play one of the wrestlers or anything?
No, he actually interviewing The Rock, who's running for president.
Oh, gotcha.
But he does. All that's
right. Yeah.
He's like he's really not necessarily giddy, but he's always like The Rock invite. Like, are you serious? Like, why can't I get a robe like this? Like he's like Jimmy Woo, but he's Randall Park parodying Randall Park, and it's amazing. Yeah, he got canceled, but it's amazing seeing Randall Park play himself, almost like playing Jimmy Woo.
He's just so good at it. I mean,
yeah,
established a great character. You want to see it again and again. So
I really hope at some point we get an Agents of Atlas project where he gets to be this kind of the center of attention.
Well, one day we'll be so big, and we can just push. We're just like, hey, Marvel, look, we got this idea, right? Like, what? Right. I'm Andy Hunsaker. I used to write for Crave Entertainment.
They probably have it already in process, don't you think? Like, that's like a Guardians of the Galaxy type thing, isn't it? The way you described it.
Yeah, it could. There's like no one's married to these characters except nerds like me. Yeah. So they can do a lot with it, but and it could be just as fun. They could be the next Guardians of the Galaxy if you get the right people in the right hands. Right. And they could spin out a Shang-Chi as well, because I want to say.
Yeah, that's what you thought it was going to happen last time. It didn't. So.
Well, I didn't think it was going to happen. I was
but maybe Shang-Chi too. Will there be a Shang-Chi too?
There should be a Shang-Chi too. I don't remember. I don't know if it's been officially announced.
I don't know if there should be. There might be, though.
There might be. Yeah.
I might be betraying my opinion about the movie. But I like Shang-Chi, the character. I was not crazy about.
So you've heard it here first, guys. When we finally get to Shang-Chi, Johnny will be there with.
Johnny.
There we go. I'll come back. I can talk about it. I don't hate it. I just wasn't crazy about it.
I'm not particularly
I could go all day about a lot of the things. I could say we're wrong with it. One of them was Aquafina, to be honest with you, but we can go off on that another time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We get a big group hug with Scott and his ex and the new dad guy. I forget his name. Which is kind of a funny bit. And then XCOM closes the deal, and they're all excited about the deal that they got. And then we cut to Janet and Hank and their house on the beach. It's a tiny little house, grows up, and then Scott, Hope, Cassie as a drive-in movie with a giant laptop. That we see when there's a giant moth on their windshield, which is a funny little moment. And then we get the two post-credit scenes, the subatomic van, and this is a creepy thing where like they're sending him back to the quantum realm to get the healing particles for Ghost, I guess. So he's trying to help her out, but the blip happens while he's in the van because everybody disappears. Like. And this is freaky as shit. So I can't remember what happens now, even though I've watched the next one. Well, he's in the quantum realm the whole time. I can't remember. So I'm on the edge of my seat. I can't wait to watch Endgame. But we got to watch Captain Marvel first.
Yeah.
So I got to just sit here and wait to find out what the hell happens.
That's the fun about it. That's the fun.
You're waiting, but you're also taking in another form of entertainment while you're waiting. You're not just twiddling your thumbs.
And you're getting a sense of how we all felt when we had to wait between Infinity War and Endgame, and we had these two interstitial movies where we just really wanted to get to the Endgame as much as possible.
Like what the hell happened?
Kind of the nerd experience you're getting right now.
And you don't have to wait a couple of years for it.
That's true.
It could be the way we slog through. The way we slog through podcasts, it might be a couple of years before we get to it.
Well, it was
couple
actually
months,
a
not
year.
a couple years.
It was Infinity War was that summer, and then Ant-Man was like that August, and then Captain Marvel was like in February, and then Endgame came around the next year. So it was only about a year we had to wait.
But it was all was that all pandemic time? Was that are we getting into the pandemic times yet? Or
no, this is all like pre-pandemic.
Okay, I don't know why I didn't see any of those the first time, and then the second
probably did just forgot them.
No, I never saw Captain Marvel before. I mean, I just watched it a little bit ago, but I loved all the '90s references and stuff. I like it set in the '90s. Everything should be set in the '90s.
That was the one thing that was nice about that movie. The '90s references.
Yeah.
Sorry, you get me into. I'm gonna start hating on everything.
No, that's good. Yeah, it's
I like a lot of the Marvel movies, but there are some that I'm just like, I did not think they did that one very well.
And that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, we do a lot of Marvel love. We haven't hated a lot of movies, so maybe we need to have Johnny on more.
I've hated movies.
Yeah, you can have me on
the Marvel movies we talk about.
Yeah, we did shit on the Dark World a bit, but
we just shit on Barbarella.
Well, you should shit on the Dark World for sure.
Yes, we did.
That was pretty awful.
Yeah, I guess we did. Yeah. And then we get a second scene where it's just an ant playing drums. It's just like this is an ant playing drums. Like, why did they add that there? You're waiting for something else, and that so, that's kind of funny. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. We got to the end. We did it, TPJ.
We made it.
I am thoroughly surprised. We definitely went over the time that I thought we were going to be on here, but
yeah, we've been here for a while.
We did do it.
We did do it. I mean, it's gonna be a couple episodes. We'll see. But and we did it with Johnny, and we plugged the Beer City Comic-Con. So
mission accomplished.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it all.
Check and check.
So was this Johnny? Were you a fan of this movie?
Of Ant-Man and the Wasp? Not hugely. And I'll like be honest with you. Like I wasn't crazy about any of the Ant-Mans that much. I mean, like I say the same, take all this with a grain of salt. I'm a huge Marvel Universe person. I watch all the movies. I love them. Like, but like I'll be very critical about them a lot of times too. Like, but like I think that Ant-Man is a great, and Paul Rudd as Ant-Man and everything is an awesome side character. Yeah. I don't like him as much as it gets a little bit too much over the whole movie with him. Like in Civil War, he was awesome. Like in the other event, like he was great. He's a great character to be in there. And like they have to do is kind of like you got to fill the character out by having their movie so that they can be a good side character in these other movies.
Yeah, bring it on.
So I see that, but I think it is just like it kind of gets. It's like too much of a good thing, you know, like where it's like, all right, I got it. That's your shtick, and you're just going to keep playing it again and again and again. Yeah, when that's just one guy coming in every once in a while, it's hilarious and it's hard, and you love him. You want to give him a hug, you know, like that's Paul Rudd.
It's like Art's thigh meat. It's you don't want too much of a good thing. It's like
it's a limited edition. It's a special edition.
But so that's my general opinion.
And that kind of comes in. We'll get. That point kind of comes in a bit more with Quantumania, which we'll get to in 100 years. But it's just like when you've got like an Avengers level fleet of heroes, but they all have kind of the same powers. There's not a lot of like, oh, you shrank, you grow, you shrink, you grow. It's sort of and the one guy likes ants. So that's
I love the shrink and growing.
A lot of the same kitschy, jokes being played again and again and again. And then you have one totally awesome actor in Jonathan Majors that carries the entire movie. Like as far as I'm concerned, like if he wasn't in it, it would have been total shit. But it was like it was good because he was the character. Like this guy, he was the most unrealistic character as far as he's a time traveler and all this kind of stuff. But he's the one that you really like. This feels like a real human being. I can connect with this person emotionally. Everybody else is just kind of a joke, so anyways.
Well, if he doesn't have molecular disequilibrium, I can believe it.
It doesn't have that. It doesn't have a lot of other interesting things in it. It's a lot of fun. Don't let me ruin the movie for you. Like it's a really fun visual movie. Like, and there is like a lot of funny parts for sure. And Jonathan Majors fucking rules in it. Like he did a great job.
He's really good.
Like, him as Kang, it just couldn't be better. Like, I love it.
TBJ, what's your thoughts on Ant-Man and Wasp?
rating system again? I forget. Or we just have 50 of them.
I don't know if we have a rating system. Just, I guess your summary, like what made you upset?
I rarely get upset, so that's except at you and Art. I rarely get upset at a movie. I'll say that, except Barbarella.
What makes you say Excelsior?
Howard the Duck.
Oh, Howard the Duck was dumb.
Howard the Duck was
dumb. It was fun. It's funny. I like some of the heartwarming parts between him and his daughter. I like that relationship always growing every time we get to see Ant-Man. I love the family side of him. But I don't care that much about Ant-Man. But I also don't care that much about Iron Man. So, you know, it's only about 3-4 heroes. So I'm like, yes, I'd ride or die with.
Yeah.
One of them is Hawkeye. Joe, we can duel at dawn. I will take a bow and arrow. The Girl Scout in me can shoot a bow and arrow, sir.
Well, I will take Paul Rudd any day, and I get Clueless with it. So, boom.
No, I love Paul Rudd. Okay, Clueless, where he's dating his stepsister, is not the movie you think it is, Joe.
That is kind of weird. Yeah, because she's a minor. She's a minor too, right? That's weird.
She's in high school, and their parents were married.
Yeah, that was
he's
like
23 and she's 15.
She's like 16. Yeah. Either way,
that was weird. I love my brother. Yeah, I guess that is weird.
Yeah, that was the weirdest reveal at the end of that.
But
movie.
that's not his fault.
And then they had that huge gross French kiss at the end too.
Yeah, he didn't write it, but
and that was his first movie, so you know he was.
Well, Dan Hedaya was in it, so Dan Hedaya and everything.
And let's be honest, it was a great movie. That was just a weird part. Fucking rules.
He could have been a love interest that wasn't related to her for 2 seconds. I like Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is great to me. I think if controversy ever comes out about Paul Rudd, I'd be very sad.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy him, and I enjoy the funny bits. I love his crew. His crew is always funny. They always bring life to it. I love the heartwarming parts with family.
T.I.
You listen, Clifford Harris.
Yeah.
I used to love him so dearly until he did some shenanigans.
Michael Pena is Luis. Let's give a shout out to Michael.
Yeah, Michael Pena.
Yes,
he steals the show a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, that's just my favorite buddy system. Him and Paul are two of my favorite buddies. Ever on screen. But yeah, I'm not like, it's my favorite. Am I gonna go back and rewatch it again after today? No.
Not even the Luis story scene.
If you just edit those story scenes, and if you edit the ones where he's talking to his daughter, it's always a win for me because I will cry. That's fine.
Those moments.
My emotions. Yeah. But I don't want to watch the whole thing. I didn't really care about the ghost. I didn't really care. There's a lot that I don't care. And maybe that's because science isn't my jam either. I don't know. I work for a whole STEM nonprofit. Don't tell anybody. But I wasn't that interested. But it's not a bad movie. It's just not my jam.
DBJ, when you talk about getting emotional and stuff, have you ever watched Ted Lasso?
I watched some of it. I haven't sat down and binged it. I rarely watch TV.
Yeah, I just finished it so I can get rid of my Apple TV and talk about crying all the time.
Oh my God! Yeah, right.
I cry every episode. I'm like, Jesus, why am I crying? What's happening to me? Like, why am I? Stop making me cry.
It's something about Jason Sudeikis, like his voice and the accent that he's doing is kind of soothing.
He's Ned Flanders.
But it's also
essentially
But you love him, like
So it's like you just like. It's almost like an after school special, but for adults, kind of sort of. So it feels good, but then at the end of it, you're just like, man,
why did they do this to me? I gotta cry.
Well, it's one of those things because it's like you take a silly little thing, and that silly little thing makes you feel feels. Which is a good way to feel. I'd rather feel feels of a silly little thing than, too much of the world on fire. So
if you could take all his pop culture references and bottle those.
Oh my God, so good. Well, I think one of the great things about Ted too, and you guys can all appreciate this, you're Southerners like me, is that he's like this awesome conglomeration of your typical what you would assume is a conservative Southerner while being like pretty liberally minded. I'm just like, this is the best person there could be. Like he's like, a centrist. He's like the best of both worlds. Like he's like, great. Why can't we all be this way?
Yes, they can exist.
Right.
All right, Art, your turn. What do you think?
I like this movie only because I feel like a movie like this kind of keeps me grounded, right? Because I feel like I've always been, I'm still am, but like I'm always been, like the dark side. To quote TBJ, is like my jam. So anything that I can watch, and like like the very, I don't know if it's, I can't recall whether or not it still plays, but I was talking to someone earlier about this, about the whole all I'm trying to do is make money thing, kind of thing. I'm talking about video games and how like now I play a lot of kind of cozy like video games just because I've always been like my mind has always been like the tortured artist kind of thing. So like I would get mad about some shit, instead of punching the wall, I'd draw something or do something really dark, right? So anything that kind of like pulls me back from the darkness, I can watch repeatedly. Where so like Antman and the Wasp is one of those movies where I'm not saying it's great, but for me it's like it's that feel good moment. It pulls me, it tethers me, right? Like I'm like Aang, the Last Airbender kind of thing. I'm going all over the place here. It's like it's what tethers me to this earthly plane and keeps me from going full on dark. Shit like this, like playing Animal Crossing, Stardew, like that. Like
Tamagotchi. Do you have one of those?
I don't do that. But it's like how like TV has this whole thing, like shit, they can get it, she'll go off. Like shit like this is like it's my kryptonite, right? So it's fun to watch just because it keeps me from being,
all right. It's your kryptonite, so it kills you, but it's also
it doesn't
saves
kill me.
you.
As a weakness. Here's me.
Oh, is it like the? Is it the? What is the? Which color kryptonite changes your personality?
Right, but
I can't remember if it's red or what. Yeah, one of the other ones.
I think the red kryptonite inverts your personality, and that's what it is. There
was more than one color of kryptonite.
Yeah, red actually kind of like the way that they've been doing it, and like especially like in the new Superman cartoon they have now, it doesn't invert his person. It doesn't invert his personality. It kind of like it drains him, and it has almost like the opposite effect of
the green,
having exposure to the yellow sun. So it's like the red rays kind of subdues him, and it kind of makes him sick. Whereas I guess in like the movies and some of the shows, whenever he gets exposed, like especially on not Smallville, but what's the damn shit they had?
The one with Dean Cain.
No, it wasn't Dean Cain. But that wasn't like just recently. I want to say
Maud.
Yeah, Maud. But like it was like they was using the red kryptonite, and the red kryptonite, what it was making him like evil, but it also like latched onto us that kind of dark personality that's inside of Clark.
So you're talking about Antman Wasp is your red kryptonite.
Antman,
it's not your red kryptonite.
It's just my kryptonite. See, I was going to sit there and say
green kryptonite.
Superman can be exposed to green kryptonite and not die. It's only when he gets a lethal dosage of it that'll actually kill him. And
really,
he also Superman technically cannot die. Technically, Supes cannot die
because he's come back from the dead already. So we can assume that he can come back again. Is that why? Well, yeah, obviously.
It's sort of like how earlier how you were saying like how Superman is one of those characters which all we see him being is like leaping tall buildings, shooting eye lasers, blowing cold breath, and flying. But he's like Iceman, he's like Gambit, so much more. But they keep him onto like they don't want to make him like even now. One of the big things about Superman has always been like, what happens if he goes evil? This new Superman cartoon show is all about them trying to control Superman, a la Lex Luthor kind of thing, where it's like Superman, he's an alien, he can kill us all. What happens when he decides he doesn't want to be a hero anymore, kind of thing? That's me. Like I'm not saying I can kill us all, but it's like something like Antman and the Wasp to bring it back. It's something that keeps me not being the angry black man all of the time.
How many colors?
We don't want to argue with Dark Superman on us.
I'm looking up Kryptonite right now. There's like
I was too. There's
25 different kinds
there's
of
a periwinkle. There's a orange. Yeah. I
had
no
a
idea.
lot of different kinds.
Now I'm gonna
there's
fall
the
down
regular
that
green
rabbit.
Kryptonite. There's
It's almost
red
like
Kryptonite.
a kyber crystal.
Red Kryptonite is apparently unpredictable consequences.
Yeah.
Some people can turn into a dragon or just get real hairy or they get powers.
There you go.
There's gold Kryptonite.
That's an easy story writing there.
Yeah.
Red Kryptonite. It can do anything. So I can just put it in my story and do whatever I want.
Lois had what do you call it? Kryptonite K or some. It did some weird thing where it was like a drug. It gave you powers, but then it also kind of made you insane.
There's gold Kryptonite,
like
which removes Kryptonite's superpowers. There's blue Kryptonite, which is an antidote to green Kryptonite. There's white Kryptonite that kills plant life.
What color Kryptonite stops me from eating spoonfuls of Nutella every night before bed?
Probably the Kryptomites, which are living beings composed of various forms of Kryptonite.
What?
There is platinum Kryptonite.
All right, Andy, put away the Kryptonite, Andy. Put away the Kryptonite and tell us if you like this movie so we can end this podcast. Go to bed.
Okay, I gotta go to bed. I enjoyed this movie. I like as much as like you want to watch like the big spectacle movies. Like when this movie came out, Endgame. We had to see Endgame. But it's good to see like this galaxy spanning thing of Thanos going around doing all this crap in outer space and all the like this huge space opera where the bad guy wins at the end, and then you switch gears a bit and go completely Earth level and get and even below to the microverse, I guess, but this very human like life in the MCU kind of story. It's like you get a lot of like the big talk. So it's good to switch gears and just see like how people live and how people.
Which is how we used to kind of get that with like the next Netflix series. Like you would have, because they weren't canon at the time, but you had like the ground level stuff that also
street level crime, and stuff like that.
Carried you over into the big bang shit.
And that right, I really do need to finish watching all those Netflix movies, the series.
Daredevil is good. I think I started it, but I never finished it.
But I enjoy this movie. It's not the kind of movie like you like aside from watching Luis recap everything. It's not like the one you'd like, let's go watch that again. You're not super excited to see it again, but it's a good like sort of breather. It was a great placement as far as breaking up the space opera kind of thing, and it's fun to revisit once in a while, but it's not like the one you're gonna be excited to go watch again.
I love all the Hot Wheels.
Wheels.
So that was fun. And just to gauge like what I was saying before, like I've seen all the Ant-Man movies at least 3 times, some of them 4 times. So that's like, it's not like I hate the movies or anything like that. Like I enjoy the movies, like but I have my critiques.
I'm the same. I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite.
Are we going to watch Top Gun or are we going to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I'm not touching
so
Top
many
Gun.
choices.
I'd watch
I've still managed to get all the way through this almost 50 years without watching Top Gun all the way through.
You don't need to, Andy.
I don't think I do. I've never felt
I have to disagree with you guys. I love Top Gun.
Johnny, here's the thing. You're new to this, so I won't yell at you like I yell at the other ones. But Tom Cruise can sat down for me. Okay, I don't want to see that man on my screen anymore. He can retire somewhere far, far away and never show up for me, and life would be just fine.
It's gonna end
my life
badly.
would be just fine too, either way.
I feel like
I don't want to see him.
I feel like the Tom Cruise story is going to end spectacularly badly because he keeps doing these crazy, ridiculous stunts. He apparently did like the biggest the bike stunt for the first movie on the first day just to see if they needed to do the rest of the movie. Because
he's
if
a
we
bit
can't
maniacal.
do this, he's maniacal and he's doing these stunts. And one of these times it's not going to work. And he's just going to end up stuff on a
blaze
rock.
of glory, just like Maverick would from Top Gun.
I guess so.
But don't you think if that happened, don't you think that would be too devastating for America to handle? So they would have AI just remake Tom Cruise And I think he'd just be an AI Tom Cruise.
No, I think it'd be Scientology would rebuild.
Scientology
they have floating clones of Tom Cruise. They would never let it happen.
Yeah.
Life model decoys of them.
Yeah, there are tanks. There are tanks filled with Tom Cruises.
Tom Cruise. I mean, Tom Cruise is a lot of fun in these action movies, but he's no like who am I thinking of? Who got COVID for a second? Tom Hanks. There's no Tom Hanks.
Oh, no Tom Hanks.
He's an actual treasure. When Tom Hanks got COVID, I was like, oh shit, America's about to crumble.
If That's Tom how Hanks I knew it was real. Yeah.
Everybody's going to be rioting in the streets. Like, it's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like,
that's when people started taking it seriously. I remember that night because it was, he got it and they canceled an NBA game. We were like, holy shit, it's real. Like, if they're canceling a game, Tom Hanks has it? Oh, fuck.
Yeah, right.
It's real.
Everyone's like, we can't lose Tom Hanks. No, we got to get the scientists out here. I'll take the vaccine. They don't care. You know?
America's uncle.
Yeah. Whereas Tom Cruise, matter of fact, they probably already have his clones doing the stunts. It's not him doing the stunts. They bring out his Scientology clone.
Yeah.
His Zemnu, the
just a shell of a human being.
Xenon, whatever I don't remember the Scientology space god. I can't remember what that thing's name is.
What they call
Not
him.
Zemnu the Titan. That's a Marvel character.
I've got the book in my basement. I could go get it and look it up. But
it's not Zaxxon.
We don't need to spend any more time on Tom Cruise.
Okay.
No, Art shouldn't have brought it up.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, Johnny. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for being here,
Johnny. Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was great.
Dude, I loved it, y'all. This is great. I'd love to do it again sometime. So
oh, yeah. We will definitely bring you back, and we're definitely going to come to Asheville because holy shit, that sounds like an awesome con. And everyone, go check it out. Beer City Comic Con in Asheville. Check Johnny out. Yeah, get your tickets. Go spend a weekend in Asheville. Those of you who aren't there, it's a wonderful place to visit.
I've never actually been there. I'd like to get up there.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, I was just up there a couple weeks ago.
It's beautiful.
We're going.
Yeah.
We're going next year.
I was there last month, and it was hot, but it was great.
Yeah, it's been hot. Just this last little bit, it finally got hot. It usually doesn't get very hot here, but
no, it was hot when I was
there. But September is going to be beautiful.
Yeah, it'll be beautiful there.
Cool. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
That's the time to go. So, with that, everybody go check it out, and that's this episode. And Andy, you want to go ahead and sing us out with that song?
No, he doesn't. No.
Wait, I forget the middle.
Nasty.
Buttholes.
No.
Nasty. Stinky.
TBJ, you can end this just by saying Excelsior.
Nasty.
Don't do it.
Stinky. Butthole. Nasty. Stinky. Butthole.
Do not associate with it.
Thank you for listening to the Nerd School podcast.
Say I can't rap about the president no more, but evidently they don't see we in the streets still poor. Still more incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons, and people thinking this election to end in racism. Proud over pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems, Mr. Officer. Now they POTUS look like me, you gon' think again when seeing brothers rolling down the street. Every Martin Luther King on his American dream. Still a Rodney being beaten, screaming fuck the police. Me, I'm running through the pasture, trying to get away from master, but the dogs is on my ass, I gotta move a little faster. Can't pass for Caucasian, but I got a couple papers from the plantation saying I graduated. Congratulations, cool beans, but to most school me, trying to dodge STDs, living off government cheese. Trust the government, please. Not even if it was me, sitting in the Oval Office as commander-in-chief, trying to give us free, but there's a nigga in my ear saying, you got it, Superman, you ought to keep it here. Get this distinctly clear, I'm all about jetting. Raps Kunta Kinte without the half-stepping. A new chapter, back with new lessons. After that, the final exam. Any questions?
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.